Morning, Crow.
Good morning. How are you today, sir?
Just starting.
Nice. Me too.
It's wet here in California, Los Angeles.
It actually is not looking to be a terrible day today. Little sun peeking through the clouds. It's going to be like 40 whole degrees.
You know, for us to get rain like this, it's like Disneyland for people on the freeway.
Yeah.
Rain means go faster.
Well, I'm glad I don't have to be out there with them.
And you know, here in LA, like in California in general, but Southern California especially, most people are going 75, 80 on the freeway, which like coming from like different parts of like the United States, it's a real shocker for people.
Yeah, until you hit like rush hour and then it stops.
Yep. Well, I mean, you still have those people that try, but normally they just cause more accidents.
I used to love going out and visiting for work. We'd drive up and down the PCH. We had offices all up and down the coast.
Yep.
Fun times. Different life.
I don't know if I ever told you that I used to be in the music business. I'm technically a retired talent agent. Technically.
Oh, really?
Yeah. That's why I can spend all my time in open source. But yeah, I had a very interesting career in the entertainment business.
What type of music did you specialize
EDM.
in? EDM? Okay.
I'm actually, not to be like that about it, but I'm actually considered one of the founding fathers of the EDM movement.
Huh. Interesting.
Yeah, I founded some raves out here that ended up getting bought by Live Nation, and I worked for William Morris.
Wow, cool.
So yeah,
totally different thing now.
Yep. Well, I always studied for computer science mostly and engineering, but yeah, it was one of those things that I was always involved in music as a kid. My mom had me playing piano for Disney and all that stuff. So yeah.
Hello, Marta.
Hello.
Oh, while I've got you, before the meeting starts, I had another working group ask about the office hours. And if I recall correctly, weren't you involved in helping get that set up and running?
Yeah, and now I will have a little bit of time to restart the whole thing.
Oh.
So
the end users working group is thinking about starting some office hours.
Okay.
Yeah, so they were just curious to like listen to your experiences and how it was going.
Okay, so I will contact them. Excellent.
Yeah, Jonathan Meadows is the working group lead, and they'll meet next week. Will be your next call.
Okay.
Thank you.
Cool.
You can ping him in Slack if you have time. All right. Well, just the three of us so far, huh? Very light agenda for me. I just was going to share that in about 2 hours, the TAC is meeting, and I'm going to remind them. I asked them a month ago to review the SIRT plan. So far, I have received a huge volume of 0 comments on it. So I will remind them that we need to look at that and to talk about next steps. So that'll be in 2 hours. So I'll be able to post an update later today with what they are going to do next.
Exciting.
Right. Art, you got popped in just as I was saying it. No updates, except I'm going to remind the TAC in 2 hours they need to give us comments and a direction on where to go next with the plan.
Okay, sounds good.
So until then, unless folks had things they would like to collaborate on together, we have no work at this moment.
I have nothing to raise here, so okay with me.
All right. Anything, Randall or Marta, anything you'd like to discuss?
I started putting together what we talked about in our last meeting about the Vince, the vendor agnostic version of Vince. Just kind of throwing things together. I should have that uploaded to a repo in the next week or two. I need to fix my GPG key.
Oh,
But other than that, yeah.
GPG.
Apparently I got an old backup and now I got to renew my sub keys, and it took me a second to figure out how to switch GPG in a debug mode. So, but anyway, but yes, I would if anyone or can put attention into issue 30, that's kind of what I'm using as a guide.
Okay. Okay.
But yeah, that's all I got going on here.
Sounds good. Any questions or feedback, Marta?
I'm do not have any questions, feedback right now. I'm reviewing what has been done in the last month or so because I had to leave things a little bit.
Excellent.
Oh, Crow, before we go, I actually got contacted by some really interesting groups, like the 0 Day Malware Consortium Association, something of the sort. That they would be interested in talking to us about the SIRT.
Okay.
And how we could work together.
Well, and maybe while we're waiting on kind of the adjudication of the plan, if we started to organize ourselves around our data collection, that's not going to be lost work, no matter what. Maybe we try to find some volunteers and set up a little schedule to start to reach out to some of the folks and teams we've identified, like the 0 Day group.
Yep.
Okay.
They actually reported a bug, pretty big bug. I forget which one it was. I want to say it was a WordPress bug, but yeah.
All right. So perhaps we could send a note out to the list and then through Slack, Randall, asking for volunteers, anyone's interested to help participate in the interviews, and we can start to organize, kind of divide up the list and pair up, maybe go out and start to do some talks.
Yeah, absolutely. And then I also been talking like on a side channel with Jonathan, the other Jonathan from Alpha Omega.
Layson?
Yeah, I didn't want to butcher his last name.
Jonathan the researcher.
Jonathan the researcher, yes. Because I kind of like what he was doing, and I know that at Gen 2 we kind of have initiatives like that. So I've been trying to see how we can like connect efforts there about like scanning like the open source world as a whole. And I don't know how that, I mean, that could possibly like have things to do with the SIRT, but yeah.
Late shoe. Okay, thank you, Art.
Yeah.
he just told me one day, so yeah.
But yeah. But I thought that was interesting because I know that there's a lot of stuff happening. I know that there's a lot of, like, I've been reading a lot about use of Linux, like in the wild, and how that's evolving. I know that we don't talk about that much here, but I'd like to start talking more about it. Things like initiatives like Flatpak, because apparently a lot of companies are investing a lot of money in Flatpak. So to the point where like Canonical is like slowing down snaps, kind of like agreeing that Flatpak might be the future. So
well, maybe that's a topic we move to the Vuln Disclosure group later this week. And we'll I don't know if anybody saw, but it looks like we'll be having a call that's Australia friendly. I know Marta probably won't participate, but Art, if you're available, we'd love to have you talk with our friends over in APAC as we talk about Vuln Disclosure.
I think I filled out a poll, but when is the what was the decision?
No decision yet. I think I gave it at the end of this week. And
Oh,
then
sure.
I'll
Never
set
mind
it
then.
up.
Sorry. I thought I missed a calendar thing.
Nope.
Yeah,
I see you're on there.
I will likely participate when I said I could, probably. Yeah.
Yeah,
Good.
cool.
Happy to. Yep.
And I know that we'll get some folks from GPZ participating in that as well. So that'll be kind of an interesting. I have some folks from Red Hat Product Security that are coming, and then hopefully we'll get some GPZ folks. So it should be a productive call once that gets rolling.
And let me say this, Croak, my intent of bringing this up is I actually did look into Flatpak quite a bit.
Yeah.
And it's actually pretty interesting technology. However, they do a lot of things in the name of like security, and it makes you ask like, but like, who told you to do this? Like, and why are you saying that this is like the way it needs to be done?
Yeah.
Because I feel like they walk that line of like, well, we're free desktop, so we're just going to implement a bunch of stuff and y'all just have to kind of deal with it. And that's one of those attitudes that's always bothered me. But I feel like with time, I mean, it's a good technology. I just think that like, first of all, we got to call, cows, apples, oranges. And second of all, I just don't think that like they have this notion that they're securing Linux, which is true to some degree, but I don't know to what degree you want to call that. Because they have nothing to do with us.
They're securing it because flatbacks are up to date.
Well, because of the fact that Flatpaks provide a sandbox. So basically,
okay, yep, right. Gotcha.
And then they have this idea of a universal Linux, which is very, very interesting because essentially Flatpaks run on what they call runtimes, which are shared across all of the Flatpaks. So it gets rid of a lot of problems. And even if you were to secure something, and if you were to talk about security, then the runtimes could be very useful from that regard. But how they get done, like the build process in which they get produced, there's really no security. Like in terms of like supply chain security, like they really don't do anything like that. But they still tout that it is the most secure option for running Linux. And now that Steam Deck runs Flatpaks and their entire ecosystem is Flatpaks, then like now everyone's talking about how like Flatpaks are the future.
Okay.
To the point where they're calling them next gen packaging. It's like the next generation of packaging.
I'm not familiar enough. I was just kind of curious with your that one statement, but that explains it. Thanks. I'm just grumpy and I want to do things the old way. Yep, sorry.
I have to go log back into Valheim on my Steam Deck.
And it does have issues. It does have issues, but it is very interesting. But as I said, I feel like let's not call something secure when there's a lot of things that you should be doing that you're not doing.
Yeah. I have a small topic I wouldn't mind introducing. It won't take long. We don't have to spend a lot of time on it if that's all right.
Sure.
It came up in a side thing I was typing while we were talking here. So Linux kernel devs,
I've heard of them.
This is a handful of people, and Greg Crow-Hartman's the most, I think, vocal about this. They don't do CVE. Greg recently said they do GSD, but evidence suggests they do not do that either. Yeah. I have talked to them a while back, and I get my version of their story is we're at a layer of abstraction in computer science, which is totally fine, right? In C, that these are bugs. We are maintaining the kernel. We have a good process. It's working. Everybody cares. It's like an important piece of software.
That sounds like Greg.
Bugs. Yeah, bugs are bugs. Go, shut the F up, basically, right? Bugs are bugs.
Oh, that definitely sounds like Greg.
No, it is, and he tells really very firsthand stories of like, hey, there's this thing, and I woke up one morning, and 5 years ago, I realized it was the most terrible Linux security bug ever on the planet, and some other thing we accidentally fixed, and it was so. Yeah. He's a kernel dev. I believe him. Like,
sure, no, that they have a good process. It isn't necessarily compatible with enterprise downstream consumers.
Exactly. So, right.
Ecosystem. Yeah, no, they have a process that works for them. It works great.
And there is truth in that perspective, and I see it, and I don't deny it, and all good. Yeah. So just about everybody downstream of them starts to care about, security bug or non-security bug very quickly.
Yep.
And then I think basically the plan is the current plan is hopefully one of the larger distros. Susie was the last one who caught a Samba thing, will notice and go maybe get CVEs or GSEs. I'm not going to be CV specific here, but somebody will go flag them, and the distros will go to town and do stuff, and fixes will get distributed to all of the poor downstream folks who are not Linux kernel devs who can't tell what's going on. So
right.
That is sort of relying on, as usual, like some random person who cares and understands the problem, or some distro who does a lot of support, and it's their job to notice and catch these things, right?
It's the big three's job,
right?
And that's what they do. They have people on their teams that are embedded at the kernel engineers, and their job is to basically kind of do that scut work for them.
Yeah.
And
so how? Oh,
and
please.
Still, even the current situation, they get like between 2 and 4 CVs per every stable version.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
So per week.
Yeah. So, it occurs to me, and I don't know if anybody wants this or not. A organization whose one of their full-time sort of tasks was tag vol IDs to kernel things. Sounds like it could maybe be. I don't want to personally do it too much, but could be an open source SIRT type of thing, right? The Linux kernel CNA, and Greg would yell at us, but we would still assign. And honestly, we could be a GSD or a GSA or whatever they're called. So, which is actually anybody on the planet. Anyway, that crossed my mind. It's been an ongoing thought for years, and it heated up with some Samba thing recently. Sorry, Randall, I saw your hand up. That's all I had to say.
I actually have something to add to this because I am a frequent kernel contributor. And I've been told on good authority that since 2008, there is really a lack of a security steward in the Linux kernel, because that security steward was GR Security, and the guy that ran GR Security retired, and his kids didn't want to do anything with like open source. They went full on private. Now, I have a lot of contacts in GR Security because they're in Irvine, which is where I live, and I go there often. So I actually have access to all of the repositories, but they just physically don't want to do this. They don't want to like do free work anymore. And according to like a lot of people, not just Greg, that like there needs to be a security steward, because all security, and he told me I could quote him on this, all security in the Linux kernel is bolt-on.
I will add something to that. I've tried to sort out the CVs in the Linux kernel, because when I was doing a CV analysis for distribution, basically out of the 1,500 packages, half of the CVs was in the Linux kernel.
Yeah.
And I took all the databases and stuff and started looking into details to figure out what's going on. And there is an enormous number of CVs that have been filled that you are unable to figure out which bug it is, if it has been ever fixed, or if it has ever been posted to the mailing list, because the description are so unclear and so on, and you don't know which patch set it actually could apply to. You do not have the contact information for the guys who have reported it. So for quite many of them, you're just simply stuck, and you are looking at the commits, and when you are lucky, you can identify the exact module when the problem was expected to be. You look at the commit list, and you start wondering which one it could be, and you will never be sure, basically.
Part of this though, Martha, is also that the kernel moves very, very fast. Like the back channels are like 24/7, 365 relentless.
Yeah, and if this, I agree that this definitely has merit and would be very useful. It's a very delicate situation. So, but if the group is interested in trying to commit some time and effort on this, I would suggest we reach out to, Red Hat, SUSE, and Canonical first, kind of get some of their thoughts on what they feel is working, what isn't working, and then try to broker some conversation with the kernel security team to see if they would be open.
There is no kernel security team per se.
There is.
Oh,
There is. I know
Greg,
two guys from Red Hat that are on it.
Well, from what I'm told, that's not like, it's not the real thing, because the real thing was the people that would broker. For example, the people that make packs don't want to commit directly to the kernel.
There is a process.
Yeah,
it's
different things.
Very private and secret. And if we are interested in trying to make adjustments or try to add some assistance, it'll take some time and energy to kind of work through the communications of that to not inadvertently offend anybody, because there are a lot of personalities, and we want to add value. We don't want to get into like a flame war.
Well, for what it's worth, Crow, GR Security has me on this because the ideology at one point was for me and Sam James from Gen 2 to like update their patches, because they just don't want anything to do with it. Like they just don't want to do the work, basically.
Yeah, it's not glamorous or fun. It's a lot of hard work.
So we do keep those patches. So but I know that like if we wanted to do that, I have loads of patches from GR Security about security that are not in the kernel, simply because of the fact that they don't get paid to put it in the kernel.
Yeah, Randall, a distinction that may apply here. I'm passively familiar with all the pack stuff. I watched some of that stuff go by, but I don't have details. But I was more sort of focused on the very simple sounding, but I know it's not, to Krop's point. Yeah, we're not going to argue with the kernel security people of Linux about what security shouldn't be in there. This was a security bug. It gets an ID. It gets managed. To Marta's point, maybe there's at least, the references are better. The description's a little bit better. At least there's a commit or something to point to. So it's just that first hop in the downstream vol management ecosystem and make sure that the paperwork's taken care of. That's it. Yeah.
And there are people that are foundation members that are already doing some of this work. So I would suggest we start with them to see kind of their perceptions and what their activities, and then see what we can do to add value to that, to make it more easier for downstream. We don't want to add the burden on to the developer, but I think this is possibly an area we could, with a couple people helping out, and if add some value.
Yeah, if it's being done, we don't need to do it a second time. And if no one wants us to do it, that's all fine. And if we don't want to do it, that's also fine. But there's a little spot there, and I feel like somebody paid to do it regularly would be efficient for everyone else, as opposed to like, who's getting this one? Who's getting that one? Anyway.
Yeah.
Okay. That was my idea. Thanks. Over.
And actually, one of the guys from that team I've invited to the APAC Vol Disclosure call, so hopefully he'll show up. It's a good dude.
Cool.
And to clarify, I was talking more about the security features themselves.
Yeah, that's what I thought I heard. So I just wanted to make sure. I'm unqualified really to talk about that. I know the words, but that's a different discussion. I mean, if we want to advocate for that, that's a fine discussion.
Different
discussion.
I would say the highlight there is that a lot of those security features haven't really received an update since 2008. So that's really why, from a developer point of view and from a person that builds distros and is involved with the distros, that is kind of important, because like there are a lot of really important patches that should have been applied but were not applied.
And there's a lot of reasons for that. There's no one simple explanation. There's many different reasons.
Correct.
I got to
But
deal
a
with
vast majority
the
though,
GRC
Crow,
folks in my time back at Red Hat, and some of their patches were not compatible with enterprise deployments of Linux.
correct.
You could throw that on a Wall Street trading floor,
But what I was trying to get at is a lot of them that ones that I have from GR Security are just simply that they were not submitted.
Yeah. Yeah.
I don't know what bad blood there is there, but all I was told is that the guy wanted to hand off the torch to someone, and he's been sitting there with the torch since 2008.
Yeah. It's that space is very emotionally and mentally straining. Just the pace and the importance of that packet ecosystem. Really, it's not just a package. It's
Agreed. It's where I live. So
yeah.
yeah.
So if the group wants to apply some time to this, I think we definitely could add value to downstream by applying some people's time to help with the documentation. But let's see what exists today, what's working, what isn't working, and then start to talk to the players to ask if we would be if we can go ahead and do that.
Agreed.
Any other comments on this? And maybe that's if you want to maybe put your thoughts together a little more eloquently, Art, and send that to the mailing list. I think this is a worthy topic for us to talk about, and I think it makes sense that the SIRT potentially something they could work on.
On the flip side, Crow, could I know that this is not really a SIRT problem, but could I bring this to Open SSF? Because here's kind of what happened and how I know about this is that they were trying to get us to do it. And then we were trying to do it, but it turned out to be like a lot of work for two people. So I kind of feel like someone should do the work. And I feel like the biggest thing is there's a fair amount of people that just don't want to deal with the kernel people. So like, would there be a spot in your opinion in Open SSF to be that like patch broker?
Maybe. I had to put some thought to it. I don't know exactly where that would end up getting routed, whose desk that would land on. But that's definitely something it is a free and open forum. Anyone is welcome to bring up suggestions, but I just don't know where. We'd start with the TAC and see if the TAC sees value in it, and if it aligns with where the foundation, the direction they're moving, and then see about getting it appropriately routed to the people who can best participate.
Fair. So if I wanted to bring it, should I like get Sam and like go to a TAC meeting?
Yeah, you want to put together a short presentation or a short briefing document and share with them ahead of time.
Okay.
Again, I can help assist with that since I'm on the TAC.
Okay. Yeah, because I also have the people for like I know the guy from GR Security. Like he's willing to help on this. He really wants to hand it off to someone. The dude's just really old. He can't do it anymore.
Yeah.
Has a lot of health problems.
Sounds like me without the health problems.
Yeah. So like he can't
tired.
handle it anymore. Like has like is kind of lost his ability to keep track of like a lot of things at a like super high volume, and his kids are just not the same people, to put it lightly.
Yeah. So again, Art, I would suggest you put your thoughts together with a mail to the group, and then Randall, if you're interested in moving the patches piece forward, we'll need to have
Is
something
PAX
to share
still a
with the
thing?
tech.
I still see a lot of PAX in Gen 2. I don't know if PAX is still a thing, but I know that like the PAX people have like over 200 patches that are not in the kernel and that version of PAX.
The distros will typically, they'll carry things for their older supported kernels that aren't necessarily part of upstream. So yeah, it's a thing.
Okay.
They don't like doing it
Yeah.
because it's a lot of technical debt and a lot of work.
Yep.
Because you're constantly regression testing stuff as you pull things from upstream.
Yep. And Pax marking everything. And yep. I remember those days.
All right. Any other thoughts for today?
Hey, Krub, I surprisingly can't find the mailing list for this working group.
Well, that's
Probably
because we're a
being-
SIG.
SIG. Well, sorry, is there not a?
There is.
I'm using the skills I usually use to find such things, and it's not working. Sorry.
All right, hold on.
Am I
Well,
like
first
completely out of
off,
my mind? Yeah.
it may be at the top of this. It's at the top of my agenda. Hardy.
Oh, nice. And there's a big public page for all this shit.
Yeah, it's like OpenSSF-SIG-OSS-SIRT at lists.openssf.org.
OpenSSF.org. Okay. All right, I'll dig it up.
All right. See, my agenda is worth something once in a while. Anything else today, team? All right. Well, thank you, the three of you, for your participation and your ideas today. And I look forward to talking to you soon. And I'll get an update once I hear anything from the TAC.
Great. Thanks.
All right.
Bye,
Cheers.
everyone.